And the only other fun thing about Mimic is it does have a sequel, but it's apparently even worse than the first one. And it came out in 2001, and I have it. I have the DVD. It's sitting right. It's like back. You can this shelf here. If you're watching on YouTube, that is under my finger. There, it's in that stack. That's all like 2001 movies that we aren't talking about that are stacked on top of it. Or at least aren't scheduled to.
So when your wife asked you, are you just going to buy every single movie made in 2001? She legit had a good reason to ask that.
Yeah, well, that's why I was walking out of Goodwill with what is it, the Ashley Judd movie we're going to talk about later?
Someone Like You.
Someone Like You. I found it at Goodwill, and it's like
Did you say you have 2 copies
of Ashley Judd in it?
Yeah. Did you say you have 2 copies of Pearl Harbor, Josh?
I have at least 2.
Or just 1? At least 2.
At least 2. Because I have
8 hours worth of film, Josh.
Yeah.
In the morning, I'm making waffles.
Whoever said orange was the new pink was seriously disturbed.
And when it comes to huge openings, a lot of people think of me.
Just call me a fuck ass.
Green? Scary. I get nasty when I'm horny.
Welcome to Not Another 2001 Movie Podcast, a show exploring movies released during the first year of a chaotic century. And today, I forgot to write anything else in the intro. I'm Josh.
I'm Allison.
I'm Slate.
So, our intro ghosted us. I promise that was not intentional, but it's worked out, I guess, a little bit. We have another ghostly tale on deck for you guys today. And before we get into that, I want to know, if y'all were a ghost, where and who would you want to haunt?
Oh, I'd haunt the fuck out of some people.
Oh.
I like this. Go on, Allison.
There's been some people I shall not name that I have worked with over the years who truly traumatized me, and believe me when I say I would make their life a living hell.
Okay, all right.
I would 100% be a poltergeist.
What would you
any specific location?
Yeah, or even what would you
I'd
interfere?
follow her around.
You're like the ghost of girlfriend's past or whatever, where she's just like sabotaging their entire life.
Yeah.
Okay.
Vindictive ghost. Okay.
Okay. Would one of them happen to be a man who dresses inappropriately for Halloween? Would you haunt that person as well? Sorry, we just got to have a little callback.
Oh God.
Okay, Josh. Are there parameters on the Do I have if I pick to be a ghost somewhere? Do I have to stay there, or can I be a traveling ghost?
So I suspected someone would ask this question, and honestly, I suspected it would be you. But also, I was grappling with this myself when I was thinking about it earlier. Because I mentioned before we recorded, I had to recheck the show notes and remember what my question was for this episode because I'd kind of forgotten it in the time that I wrote the notes, and I was thinking about it the same way. So I'll say, however you want to approach it. I kind of assume ghost logic can fluctuate depending on.
Well, I am not staying in the house with, the children who can't touch the sun and Nicole Kidman. No matter how much I would love to be in the same house as Nicole Kidman, I'm not staying there forever. Okay, I am going to be a nomadic ghost and travel, and I'm going to haunt every single baseball stadium ever. And go to every World Series and
you
Super
went
Bowl.
The same direction I was going to go.
You guys are so predictable.
I was ready. I'm going to haunt wherever the Cavs are playing in a given night.
Yeah, I'm going to haunt Rome. I'm going to haunt the shit out of the cathedrals and everything. I've used my afterlife to just travel and do all things I didn't get to do when I was alive.
Have that suitcase packed when you're just in time to die, so you can.
I'm gonna haunt all the giallos in Italy, in the theaters.
Actually, you know what I'd haunt? I'd haunt Costco.
There you go. There you go. See, now we're talking.
Because they're always bringing in interesting new shit, and I just love Costco so much.
You keep up with the culture.
Yeah.
If I had to pick somewhere to be stranded and haunt, it would have to be somewhere like on a beach, exotic, beautiful, like somewhere like that. That's just leave me there.
Beach bum ghost.
Yeah, beach bum ghost. Working on my tan, baby. No, but I don't think I'd honestly have anybody that I would haunt. Like, I think in my afterlife, I would want to spend it, like, doing things I couldn't do versus, like, trying to make somebody else's life miserable. I don't know. Like, there's not many people that I dislike so much that I would spend my afterlife chasing them down to ruin them. Allison is so much. I thought I was a petty person. She is so much pettier than I am now.
Yeah.
What about you, Josh?
Yeah, well, I legitimately, what I had settled on was I'm going to go with and this was even assuming, like, once it was demolished, I would be demolished with it, but, like, I'll just roll with the Cavs Arena, so I could
Quicken
watch
Loans Arena,
yeah, Quicken Loan, or I think it's Rocket Mortgage as of today.
Oh, is that what it is now?
Oh, God.
Is the current name. But yeah, for something unsports related, because I do think that would be, like, clearly the best way to go. Like, I could sit courtside, dap up, LeBron's a grandkid by then, it would be great. I think it would be fun, like a library would obviously be something that would be kind of cool, because you can, see a lot of different people, and in theory, you could read or whatever.
Slate, I'd be like, see that ghost?
See that
ghost?
Josh ghost?
You see that Josh ghost back there? Go get him.
I hadn't even thought about that.
Josh, I figured out how you can put yourself in Quicken Loans Arena. So after you die, put it in your will to be cremated, and then I'll sneak you into the stadium with me and catch a game. And before Bronny's great-grandchild decides to throw the powder in the air, I'll pour your ashes in the chalk powder.
There we go.
And then whoosh! Now you're stuck in the arena forever.
I love it. That's great. And then you can croak and head on over to the Guardian Stadium, and it'll be great.
Yeah.
And Hal's gonna be chasing someone down the street.
Fan, but it does suck. I'm taking Sophia to a Guardians game in a week and a half, and their best player, who's like a generational star, and Jose Ramirez, just broke his handmate bone.
Oh,
and so he won't be playing, which kind of sucks, but that's all right.
That's the thing. That's the danger with sports stuff, man. It's like, that's why I've held off on going to Cavs, because I used to, there was a good stretch where me and some family would go up to watch the Cavs, and typically, the Lakers, because my stepdad's a Lakers fan, and go watch, but it's so hard to buy tickets in advance when you don't know, but injuries and but also, especially in the NBA, like, guys just rest, so it's like, what? Like, dude, I've seen when Anthony Davis was playing with the Lakers, we somehow managed to watch him play in 3 years of going and watching them play. Saw him play like one quarter of basketball, because he's like perpetually hurt. Like, and he got hurt in the first quarter of the game that we got to see him play. So it's like, of course.
Poor Anthony Davis. That sounds about right.
Yeah, love the guy, but street clothes is appropriate.
Okay, I lied. If I was a ghost, there's one person that I would haunt. I would haunt the entire Castellini family, and I would just, sell the team, Bob. And force them to sell the Reds and move out of Cincinnati. That's what I would do.
Be careful of how you worded that, because if you were like wishing that to a genie, how the genie would have interpreted it is.
Yeah, if you got your one
the
wish
the Reds would be moving out of Cincinnati.
I've seen Obsession. I am not breaking the one wish willow here.
Yeah.
Love that movie, by the way.
Cool. We've talking about ghosts because we've got another ghost movie on deck. It's called The Devil's Backbone. So, The Devil's Backbone, aka El Espinazo del Diablo. Spanish is the one language I can I can't speak, but at least have the pronunciations down. I just feel fairly confident on how to speak it when I can read it. Is a ghost story set during the Spanish Civil War that acts as a thematic sister piece to Guillermo del Toro's, I call it a masterpiece here in the notes, because I believe that, Pan's Labyrinth. Slate, before we started recording, just to drop this little bombshell on you, says he hasn't seen Pan's Labyrinth.
I haven't either.
Oh,
what the fuck!
Yes, and we call ourselves movie buffs, Allison.
Well, there's been multiple times that I'm like, I'm gonna watch it tonight, but you know,
Same.
I have to be in the right headspace where I'm like, I am gonna pay attention because I've got to read the subtitles, and it's just every time I've tried to watch it, something has completely distracted me. But
well,
yeah, that's a big hole in my repertoire.
Well, so I hadn't seen it, to be fair to you guys. I was in high school the only time I'd ever watched it, and remember loving it then. But again, it's like one of these things where like I remember watching it, but I don't remember anything about it. So I watched it last night after we were recording our previous episode. I sat down and watched it, and it's awesome. I mean, it is his best movie. I think, for a litany of reasons, but it is also what I was not aware of at the time when I watched it originally was its connection, kind of the themes it touches on, a lot of the same stuff in this movie, and it's not the same though. It's not like a repeat. They are very much kind of married to one another in some ways, and it's good. You should watch it, and especially after having watched this movie. And just I think it helps to. But this is the first one, so I think that's a good. Obviously, this is a better way to start because it was the first one that came. Del Toro, nobody. Of like the foreign directors that we've talked about this year, he's probably the most well recognized, I would think, among anybody listening to this show is probably familiar with Guillermo del Toro. He's directed a lot of movies, but this was his third feature film. He started with Kronos, which I haven't seen. I've not seen his first movie or his second movie, Mimic, which is the first movie he did with a Hollywood studio. And can anyone want to guess who that studio was without looking at the notes?
I'm going to guess it's those Sex Pest brothers.
It sure is.
I tried to watch Mimic, and I remember I fell asleep.
I haven't.
It's not great.
It's got our boy Norman
It's
Reedus
got Norman
in it, right?
Reedus in it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like one of his first feature films, and I think Josh Brolin's also in it, from what I remember reading.
Nice.
He also co-wrote it, and it's based on a short story, and it sounds kind of cool. It's kind of like a movie, it's like a monster movie kind of thing, and it was something that even at the time Del Toro had problems with. Somebody fucking protect this guy. He actually was like fighting the Weinsteins back in then, he was fighting like with them, clashing over creativity stuff with them, to the point where apparently at some ahead of some awards
he formed
show,
his own production company after this, right?
Yeah, he kind of starts taking more control over things he does after this. But he James Cameron, I thought I had this in the notes, but I must not have. James Cameron apparently went and like to bats. Like it got so hot between him and the Weinsteins that James Cameron stepped in and was like getting ready to duke it out with the Weinsteins at an award show over how they were treating Del Toro.
Now,
I love James Cameron, man.
That's
Big
the
Jim.
fight I want to see.
Yes. I love Big Jim.
And the only other fun thing about Mimic is it does have a sequel, which is apparently even worse than the first one. And it came out in 2001, and I have it. I have the DVD. It's sitting right. It's like back. You can this shelf here. If you're watching on YouTube, that is under my finger. It's in that stack. That's all like 2001 movies that we aren't talking about that are stacked. Or at least aren't scheduled to.
So when your wife asked you, "Are you just going to buy every single movie made in 2001?" She legit had a good reason to ask that.
Yeah, that's why I was walking out of Goodwill with what is it, the Ashley Judd movie we're going to talk about later?
Someone Like You.
Someone Like You. I found it at Goodwill, and it's like
Did you say you have two copies
of Ashley Judd in it?
Yeah. Did you say you have two copies of Pearl Harbor, Josh?
I have at least
or just
two.
One. At least two.
At least two. Because I have
8 hours worth of film, Josh.
Yeah.
I have an app to keep track of. Why are you wanting to borrow it?
Oh boy.
I have an app to keep track of like things, but sometimes I forget to scan the barcodes, and that's what happens. So, so Del Toro wrote this movie along with fellow Spaniards Antonio Trasheros.
I thought you said Spanish was easy for you.
I know.
Yeah,
I can pronounce this.
Trashoros?
Well, I'm trying to roll the R, so it's probably like a Trasheros. Like, we're going to move on.
We sound like white assholes right now, so we just need to move on.
Tasharis.
Honestly, Slate might be how you just said it is probably how it's spoken. David Munoz. He's a big fairy tale monster horror guy, Del Toro. He was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. His father raced motorcycles and became like an automotive entrepreneur, and his mother was a painter, poet, and he's like been pretty forthright about his upbringing. The family won a lottery for $6 million when he was a kid.
That's
like
crazy.
5 years old, and like he's described their house as like an enchanted castle. He's very been like we had it pretty good growing up. Like he's not really tried to hide that.
Okay, Josh, before you go to the next part, now that it hit me when you said his mother was a poet, what are the chances the poem at the end of the movie is the Casares is
that he recites to
Carmen.
Carmen.
To Carmen. What are the chances that's a poem his mother wrote?
It's possible. I hadn't seen that or read that or anything, but it's possible, or at least like was influenced. I mean, I'm sure
it
some
had
of
to be at least loosely influenced by.
Because there's some of that in Pan's Labyrinth too, like kind of that kind of stylistic, stuff. So it's certainly. I imagine his use of language, especially, is very much, linked to just his mother, being, an artist, and him kind of taking a lot of cues from that. He ends up getting into movies really early, makes short films as a kid. And he worked on before he got into feature filmmaking, he worked on La Hora Marcada, which is kind of like a Mexican Twilight Zone, sort of an anthology, horror, thriller, sci-fi series. He was supposed to, so prior to Kronos, he was working on a movie called Omnivore, which sounds really cool. It's, at least for, someone like me who likes this shit. About a lizard man who tries to eat everything that he encounters, which sounds like fucking awesome.
I know, I'd watch that.
Sign me up. And he apparently built over 100 puppets in a 3-year time span ahead of the filming, and burglars destroyed all of the puppets and sets, and that the film got shelved apparently forever, and he moved on to Kronos.
Dang.
But, yeah, big bummer. He was 33 when the Miramax thing comes around, and I guess they'd seen Kronos and thought, what, this is for all the obviously shitty things they did, like we brought this up before, they were like adventurous with the money, the way they spent their money, and tried to get some people brought in like Del Toro to come do stuff. So at least can appreciate that. That's a bomb, but he ends up obviously becoming a really massive fixture in Hollywood. Pan's Labyrinth really puts him on the map. But even before that, he had Hellboy, and Blade 2, and then Hellboy 2 I think comes out after Pan's Labyrinth, or right ahead of it. He's worked in IP, he's worked in his own kind of stuff that's kind of IP adjacent, like Pacific Rim, that kind of obviously spawns a sequel that is nowhere near as good, that he did not work on. He's got 3 Oscars. He won Best Director and Best Picture for The Shape of Water when that I think that was 2017 or 2018, and Best Animated Feature a few years ago for that Pinocchio movie on Netflix. So had several nominations for Frankenstein just this past year in 2025. So he's very, obviously kind of a talented filmmaker, and very much is about humanity and our influence on art. I've got a quote here. I won't read it all, but it's about AI, and just kind of the short part from it that I like is, the other day somebody wrote me an email and said, "What is your stance on AI?" And my answer was very short. I said, "I'd rather die." So, I love that kind of attitude and appreciate it, and it's evident in all of his movies. Even the things like Hellboy, which is it is an IP driven thing, but it's so different than any other comic book movie. You know, it is like a comic book movie, but it's still got such a authenticity to it, and the way he approaches how he does practical effects and especially the makeup
and it's gorgeous.
Set design.
I mean, that's the thing that's missing from so many, you know, franchise comic book. They all kind of have the same lighting and same kind of flat look, and everything he does is just same with Pacific Rim. I think Pacific Rim is such a beautiful movie.
It's way better. It's way more beautiful than it should be too, for what it is. Like, you can totally see like what the less cared for version of that movie would look. Well, you absolutely can.
You see it in the second one. And, the robots look like garbage. The Jaegers. So.
If you've seen, and we'll definitely talk more about this when we start going over the movie, but two things I want to highlight here is, one, I think that Del Toro and Robert Eggers are two directors that just absolutely never cease to amaze me with how beautiful they are with their period pieces and the shooting of doing them. I think that those two really are like top notch, and you know, you could argue over who's better as far as like, you know, being a director and just the beautifulness of their pictures. But Del Toro, in a sense that, what I love about Del Toro is, if you've seen, you know, 2 or 3 Del Toro movies and you haven't seen anything else of Del Toro, you could watch another Del Toro movie and not know it's a Del Toro movie, and something would stand out to you and you'd be like, that's got to be Del Toro. Like, he just has a uniqueness about him that, like, you're like, only he could pull it off, right? Like, he just has so many iconic shots and moments where colors pop and things just look so naturally beautiful, and it's not CGI. Everything, for the majority of what he does, is prosthetics and makeups and practical effects. Like, he really takes his time in creating the art of making whatever he needs to make real.
And that's one thing that's interesting about Pan's Labyrinth, is it probably leans a little more on CGI than anything that he makes up until Pacific Rim, I would say. And you notice it, and it's aged like it is, but it's also like, it's almost like, especially the thing I'm thinking of in particular is like fairies in that movie that are like kind of a prominent thing, a reoccurring creature that appears, and they very much do look like, you know, they're not real, but also they feel like, I don't know, it works for the movie and the story he's telling, and it feels like it doesn't. I never thought like, oh, this is taking me out of it, even though like they should, like, kind of based on how they look, they kind of are weird looking, you know. And it's I think it works because I think there's a kind of a sincerity in how he approaches all of that stuff too, because like you can be this sort of gothic, you know, kind of odd, you know, kind of person, and it not feel like it should be where it is. You know, you can kind of layer it on too thick, and I think he does I think it's him. I think that is who he is, and it pours into the scene.
The costumes and designs and makeup in Frankenstein is so just breathtaking. I mean, Mia Goth in that green outfit is something that I will like forever remember, just because of how well she just looks naturally beautiful. The outfit is gorgeous, and it just like she looks like a Hollywood starlet from like 1923. You know what I mean? Like when they're like shooting them to where they stand out and everything else just like fades and you don't even realize what's behind her. And that's like, I don't know, if you haven't seen his Frankenstein movie, it is very accurate to Mary Shelley's book. He really handles the subject matter with care, and it's a beautiful movie to look at. And it's just awesome. It's a really good movie. There's reasons why it was nominated. And honestly, Josh, I think when you do watch it, you'll notice that there's some similarities with that and this movie that we're talking about today too, in the sense that the basement or whatever that they're in, how it's got those like arching like walkways above it. They have that again in Frankenstein, and it's a really huge set piece that's almost an iconic look in this movie for Frankenstein as well. So.
Okay. Yeah, that's that kind of architecture and like the there's a lot of reoccurring things that we'll get into when we talk about the movie that kind of appear over and over in a lot of his movies, which is another thing I think that speaks to like the distinction when you're talking about like you would know it's his movie. You know, it's like you can kind of start seeing that stuff a little bit more when you're watching all this stuff. And I don't know, I think that's I don't know. I like a director that sort of they're in all of their movies in a way. I think that can be bad, but I think for him it works most of the time. This was an international co-production between Spain and Mexico. Agustin Almodovar, he's the brother of. He is also a filmmaker, but he's the brother of Pedro Almodovar, who is just a really famous Spanish director. And they have a company called El Deseo that is kind of the main producer of this movie, The Devil's Backbone. It was a critical success, 93% critic score, Rotten Tomatoes, 89% audience. It's so it's pretty beloved. 3.8 on Letterboxd, 7.3 user score on IMDb. I have noticed that it seems like IMDb often is like the outlier on some of these stuff, and that's why I like including all of them, because it's interesting to see how different types of users and people rating things might sort of go about how they rate things. I don't know. I think it's kind of fun. It's set in 1939 during the final days of the Spanish Civil War, which is that is the core like setting in Pan's Labyrinth too, I just want to point that out. In this movie, it follows Carlos, a 12-year-old sent to a remote orphanage where he discovers the grounds are haunted by a restless spirit named Santi, who is a boy who he kind of just mysteriously vanished the night an undetonated bomb dropped into the orphanage's courtyard. That's kind of the most succinct way I could think to sum up this movie in a nutshell. So, what do we think? What did you guys think of The Devil's Backbone? Oh, I didn't include this in notes. This was my draft selection in, I think, the horror category, I believe, if I remember right.
Was this your horror? I thought this was your
Criterion?
No, Criterion. My Criterion was Ghost World. So this is a Criterion movie, though. This is available from the Criterion collection for anybody listening. And I highly encourage anybody to check that out if you're a movie nerd, because it's a really cool disc. The art's really cool too. It's of a Santi, the ghost, is like on the art. It's cool art.
No, I like this movie. It was a little bit slow for me in the beginning. It took me a little bit to get into it, but then I was really, really into it. And I wasn't really sure what to expect because I knew it's kind of labeled. I don't really think of it necessarily as a horror movie, though.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to say, Josh, I just looked at the notes from our draft. You did draft this in horror. And I think it's safe to say you're bending the rules, sir.
I mean, I understand why, like, that people would... This movie would scare some people that I know. Like, I know some people who
Really?
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I have friends.
There's some weenies out there, Slate.
Oh, grow up.
I worked with a reporter who didn't like Jurassic Park because she thought it was too scary. So
I know this reporter.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can see why it would be. It has a ghost in it, and the ghost, he died a pretty gruesome death. So I get that why it's categorized like that. But I'm like, I don't think it's got a few kind of mild scares, but it's really more like mood and vibe. And
I think of it like the others. That's sort of I would kind of put it.
Yeah,
even though I think the others has even kind of more like a at least one scene I can think of towards the end is like a jump scare kind of situation.
I was going to say, I would compare this when watching this film. I was like, man, this feels more like the others than The Sixth Sense does, to be honest with you. But I think this is, I have a really hard time classifying as horror, because I think if there wasn't a ghost in this movie, I don't know why I put it in quotations. He's clearly a ghost. For those of you who are listening, not
ghost.
Watching, I did air quotes like, "Oh, it's a ghost." I mean, he's definitely a ghost, but he's not like a scary ghost, But like, my point was, it was like, yeah, if there wasn't a ghost in this movie, I think this just would have been a drama about the Civil War, And so, like, to me, it is definitely more of a drama than a horror movie. There's not really any scares. It doesn't even really lean much into thriller. Like,
it's not really a thriller. Yeah, I thought about that. And I do think it's interesting to talk about horror just in general, because when we talk about horror a lot, I think we have something, and this isn't our fault. It's just kind of how we've grown up and what we've watched and sort of the variety, of what most of it looks like. We aren't. Horror has become more of a. This is going to sound like I'm criticizing. I like this stuff, but like more of like a thrill ride type thing. Like you're seeking the scares. You're trying to you want to, or the shock or the gore or whatever. And I think stuff like the others and this, which are kind of more like gothic horror, it's more about the atmosphere and stuff. I think that's kind of what horror used to be for a long time. Like it was more about the mood and the kind of like there might be a situation that scares you, and so it's in that sense, that's why it's horror. It's more of a classic horror, not the horror that most people like. Yeah, because I think there's people that would watch this, and if you told them it was a horror movie, they'd be like, I don't want to watch that, and because I don't like horror movies. Who would watch it and then probably love it, even and they're like, and they would say the same thing, like that's not a horror movie,
Yeah,
but it's almost a lot of his work is like a dark fairy tale almost, and this doesn't have any fantastical creatures, but it still has that same kind of like.
It does feel like a fairy tale, though. I think.
So many fairy tales, as I think everybody knows, have been sanitized by Disney. And when you like go back and read the original stories, you're like, oh, this is horrible.
They're creepier than.
This is where I'll push back on it being a fairy tale. It's not a very happy ending.
Well, that's you could also say that about most like classic.
I mean, the Little Mermaid,
tales,
doesn't she like?
No, she
gets her legs.
Eric.
She like
not
legs?
in the original.
Yeah.
Not in the original story.
Like the original, is it the Grimm's brothers? Is that a Grimm's fairy tale? The Little Mermaid. All right,
we're talking about the Disney movie.
No, I'm talking about like these stories,
like
the actual stories that all these movies are based on.
I did not know the Little Mermaid was based off a book at all.
Oh my god, Slate!
I forgot that the children movie, what is it? The children movie perfectionist.
Hans Christian Andersen is
the Little Mermaid. Gets her tail split into two to create her legs. She every step she takes is excruciating once she becomes human.
Now that sounds like a wicked awesome horror movie.
She doesn't get to marry the prince and just instead kills herself by jumping into the ocean and dissolves into sea foam.
Damn. Okay.
Seriously, they're you should kind of go read up the history of so many of those stories, and they're dark.
And Pan's Labyrinth is definitely more further into that world of really is a fairy tale kind of situation. And without spoiling it, it's not really that spoiler to say it very much takes its cues more from the dark, original fairy tale situation. So,
yeah, but going to my thoughts on the movie itself, I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it was interesting. It's a 2-hour long movie, but it packs a lot in it, but doesn't also feel like it's slow or like a slug, and it doesn't feel like it's taking forever. And really, a lot happens in the last 20 minutes. The last 20 minutes
it ramps up,
and it doesn't feel rushed though. But he puts so much into the last 20 minutes. What I do love about the movie is, again, I love, but I also hate the ending for the characters in the sense that really nobody has an essential happy ending, and you're kind of what's the bully's name?
What is his name? You're talking about the older
Jaime.
Yes, it was Jaime.
Yeah.
You kind of despise Jaime, but you also are kind of rooting for him to get the girl at the end of the movie, and then of course Jacinta just stabs her, and that's such a awful thing.
Yeah.
The thing I appreciated about this movie was, so Carlos comes in, he immediately gets bullied by Jaime, and they kind of, not quickly, he gets bullied a few times, but then
for the longest time they're pushing back against each other.
They get over it, and then they kind of work together and become friends, and that doesn't happen super late in the movie, and I appreciate that. I feel like that would be something that would happen.
It would be the climax of the
last second of the movie. Now that the village is on fire, now they're best friends, but they've already kind of established it. It's fun to me, Allison. I don't know if you got these vibes, but I got it when watching it. It's almost like a young Magneto and Charles Xavier working together. Like that kind of like friendship, you know what I mean? Where there's that contentiousness, but they find a common ground and you know, are able to kind of make that work for each other. But so I did enjoy the movie. I really think the performances are fantastic. The doctor in the movie is one of my most likable characters in a long time. I really root for him.
And he's somebody that he died in 2017. Federico Lupe, the actor that portrayed. He's somebody Del Toro like loves. He was like in his first movie Kronos, and he's also in Pan's Labyrinth. It's like
he reminds me of the Dos Equis guy so much, and I love the Dos Equis guy. Like I just kept waiting him to be like, when I do, I prefer Dos Equis. But that was pretty good. But the drawbacks that I have about this movie, I'm not saying they're negatives, but it's different for me when it comes to Del Toro, and I didn't like these aspects of the film as much as I did his other movies. Like I said earlier, I think that in every movie that I've seen of Guillermo del Toro, there's these just like iconic, beautiful shots where the light is hitting a certain thing a certain way, or the colors pop. And this movie is really gritty and dirty. Like there's no beautifulness in this movie at all. Like like the underwater sequences are really great, and it's clear like he knows what he's doing with water and the effects, and he loves water in his films clearly. But there was never like just a masterpiece looking shot where like you're expecting to see, you know, Carlos and you know, standing out in the sun or something. You know what I mean? Like I don't know, I didn't have that. And for somebody who loves like his practical effects, and I think his practical effects are on point, especially at the end when they're stabbing Jacinto and with the stakes that they've made. That's really good. It's really well done. But I hated the design of Santi the Ghost. I did not like the digital effects on him. I thought that Del Toro, somebody's a master with the makeup and effects, could have made a practical Santi that would have looked way better than what they created.
So I think because I thought the same thing, Slate. I was just like, God, why does this ghost look so bad? And like the blood coming out of his head, and I was like, this looks like .com for murder level, like. But then I kind of realized, I was like, I think what he's going for is like Santi's still in the water, so stuff is just kind of
floating.
It looks like when it dissipates in water, but I was like, it just doesn't look good.
And regardless of the look that he's going for or not, I just thought that the choice to go digital versus practical was a bad decision for him when he's so good with effects and being able to make things even on a lower budget. And he definitely, you know, had to come up with some creative juices here for the budget on this movie. But I think he does a fantastic job of getting the best out of these, you know, teenage boys. The effects, especially when the kid breaks his ankle, is really good too. Like he does some amazing things in this movie. And it is such. I'm somebody who doesn't know a damn thing about the Spanish Civil War, and watching this movie, I felt like it's not only like an entertaining drama, but somewhat of a history piece. And you feel like you're in that time, and it tells me everything that I need to know about this movie as it's happening. Like tells me what I need to know about this war, and still feels more historically accurate than Pearl Harbor. So.
That is the bar we're trying to cross most of the time.
And I see what I kind of thought the same thing about just the look of the movie. At first, I was expecting it to be a little more, I don't know, like lush
shiny
and colorful and saturated. But I do think it kind of works because it did feel gross and dirty, and just imagining having to live there made me uncomfortable. And I was fully prepared to hate these kid actors, but I thought they all did a really good job. Whenever the two
Owl
not
and
tutors, not two. What do they call them? He calls them something. Whenever they leave him in the Jeep, and he's like running after them with his suitcase.
Oh yeah,
my God,
no, that's his tutor.
Yeah,
Is it
it's
they
like
called them tutors?
mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
That broke my heart.
Yeah, it's sad. It's a very sad movie in general.
It's sad
Like,
they get capped too, and the doctor is witnessing it, and he's just like, "Oh shit, man."
Yeah.
I thought that was a choice for him to not tell him either.
Yeah, it's one of those things. Like, is it better to tell the kid, or or maybe he tells him, and you just don't see that conversation, I guess. But we don't see.
I mean, they never told him his dad died,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I honestly, when the doctor is dying at the end, I half expected him to be like, "Look, you have to grow and be a man, and like I can't teach you this. Your teachers are gone, your parents are gone. Like I'm sorry, but like it's on you now to be a man." And like have that conversation.
Well, that's kind of what the movie.
Pull yourself up by your bootstraps, kid.
Yeah.
Right.
That's really what the movie is. Ultimately, it's sort of like
take a shot of this liquid here that is rum and spices and baby water.
I reacted.
Limbo water.
I had a physical reaction to that scene. I was so grossed out.
So can we talk about that? Because the choice for the name of the movie to be called Devil's Backbone is interesting to me. Because I don't think it really pertains a whole lot to the plot, other than that one sequence when the doctor's like, well, if you believe in ghosts, then you'll believe that this, god-awful, disgusting limbo water will also hear the scratch on your face. And he's talking about the people are wanting to believe anything in the children that are born with this devil's backbone defect. Like, is that just kids that are legitimately born without the back covering their spine, or did they cut that?
So it's our second straight movie
confused.
with spina bifida in the conversation, which is not something that I intended when I was setting up this show. So from what I read, the movie was actually supposed to originally be filmed in Mexico. Like, it was supposed to be set in Mexico during the Mexican Revolution, not the Spanish Civil War. Or Spanish Revolution. Which it's a different thing, but it's sort of the thematic issue is still like an anti-fascist situation, so it's not that big of a difference. But and it was kind of supposed to be set in a mountain range in Mexico called Devil's Backbone. So that's sort of where it started. And I guess he just really loved the name, and so he came up with this other way to sort of work it into the movie.
Does the doctor say something along the lines of, like kids that are born this way, people think they don't deserve to live, or something along those lines?
Yeah,
and it's sort of like aligns with like the whole anti-fascist, like because they fascists, it's your way or the highway, and so that's the other thing. It's kind of like a thematic link.
That's what I was thinking. He's saying, like, because these children are born with physical deformities, oh God, they don't deserve to live or whatever. But then yet you have Jacinto, who is a monster.
An absolute piece of shit.
And I'm like, that kid shouldn't have been allowed to live. He's a piece of shit. And it was very disappointing because when he showed up, I was like, oh man, this guy's hot.
I mean, he's a good looking dude. I mean,
very quickly I was like, oh God, he's a piece of shit.
Yeah, pretty from the get-go too. Like, you don't get much time to think he's a good guy.
Yeah.
And he's
that's another Del Toro staple. Like, his villains are very villainous typically from the get-go. He doesn't leave you much room to
be
debate.
Redeemable. Yeah. And that's weird too, because like he's in that relationship with the girl that Jaime's in love with, and then of course he's also laying the pipe to Carmen while the poor doctor next door has to listen to it, and then of course like he throws that in his face in front of his girlfriend, like in front of all the kids at the end of the movie, when he's like, you had to love her, I'm the one that had to fuck her. And like and you're like, your girlfriend's like, whoa, wait a minute, what? That was the one thing. Go ahead, Allison.
Conchita
is that her name?
Beyonce. They were apparently engaged.
They were engaged because she was wearing Jaime's ring and he didn't get her one? That's crazy. That's wild.
That's another thing that's weird about Jaime. He's supposed to be, I guess, apparently supposed to be 17 or 18. That actor looks like a kid.
I took him for like 14 or 15.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like a kind of an older teenager, like almost like an adult. But
I could tell he was a little bit older, but I seriously thought he was like 14.
Yeah, I would have never guessed. Because he was like a 13-year-old actor.
12.
Like the actor
I took
was like
Carlos
15.
as like 12 and Jaime as like 14, 15. It's kind of what I expected. And I honestly took Juancito? What's his name? The villain?
Jacinto?
Yeah, Jacinto. Yeah. I took him as like a 17 to 21-year-old boy.
Like, I think he was probably, like early 20s.
Yeah, he's probably
I think he's early. Yeah, the more like early in the movie, I was like, oh, he must be like a 17 or 18-year-old kid that's just been here his whole life. And then like the more the movie went, I was like, okay, maybe he's like early 20s. Is kind of how I felt. But yeah, like the one thing that I did not like, and I mean, it was certainly a choice of Del Toro, was for Conchita to not apologize and just stand there knowing he's about to stab her, and like just no reaction. She just takes the knife, and then
as soon as
oh my god, I can't believe you stabbed me. Like
as soon as she set off, I was like, oh, she is done for.
Yeah,
I would have liked to have seen her put up some fight or something. You know what I mean? Or I think another choice would have and could have been her apologizing, getting back in the car, and then they go back, and then she like helps the boys foil his plan. I don't. But it was the ultimate like villain move for him to say, "Hey Jaime, isn't this yours?" and like give him the cigar ring. That was like, "Oh, you son of a bitch." That was really cool though. So that's why the choice works, even though I didn't like it.
Yeah, I think Conchita just had too much pride at that point and was just not willing to give him anything after what he'd done, and she was already pretty bad off, so I guess she was just like, okay, I'm not afraid of you. I know I'm about to get stabbed.
Yeah, well, and that's the other thing. It's like it's hard for me to think about this movie now without thinking about Pan's Labyrinth too, because like there are a lot of thematic like connections, and that's another thing where you have a clearly like she and the other staff are operating in this, they're I don't know if she is much, but like she's obviously probably leaning this way towards the end of the movie where she's like a loyalist to the cause, like she's a anti-fascist person, and so she's gonna go down until they kill her. That's kind of the and there's characters like that in Pan's Labyrinth too, who are just very much like, I'm gonna fight you in my way. It's not necessarily, it might not look like a fight, but you'll do it in ways you can, and like also but it's like also they're at the end of the war. At this point, it's already over. They've the good guys. I'm using air quotes, but like they are good guys. Have lost, and so that's sort of like representative of that. I think that the you can still fight, but you're going to lose.
I kind of wish with him blowing up with Jacinto trying to blow up the safe and get the gold and everything. I do kind of wish that he had done the instead of doing the gas trail to the car. I wish he'd have blown up the bomb. I thought that would. They
said that the bomb had been.
Yeah, dormant, but
no, they said someone came in and like took it. Yeah, took the stuff out of it.
Yeah, but Jaime says it's still ticking. Remember, Jaime's like it's still. They say it's defused. Jaime basically throws it out there that maybe this bomb isn't actually defused. He was like, they say it's defused, but I don't believe them. And he was like, and if you lean up to it, you can hear it ticking, and it has a heart, is what he says.
I think I took that as a supernatural thing.
Yeah, I took it more as like a thematic thing of, again, like, because it's weird, right, that they like, okay, you have a bomb expert come defuse it, and like, okay, like we're just gonna leave it here, like,
yeah,
you don't need this big ass section of your yard to in the middle of the orphanage to play in no more, kids.
We don't have a big enough winch to get this out of the ground.
Gather around the bomb.
Listen, guys, Joe Dirt would have put that bomb right in his little red wagon and hauled that thing into town and rob the people for the DMV and all
what
their photos.
What do you think Michael Bay thought of watching this movie? Assuming he's seen it, probably who knows if he's seen it, and to watch a bomb land and not blow up. What do you think that did?
Oh, his head exploded. Well, actually, no. He was like, you know what? I'm going to do that in Pearl Harbor. It's going to land right in the kitchen while he's peeling potatoes, and it's not going to blow up. And then it's going to spin, and it's going to stop. And I'm going to make people think, oh, he's safe. And then boom, it's going to blow up. Yeah. That's what Michael Bay thought.
It's yeah, the bomb is because obviously it's like there the whole movie and you're aware of it. And I think it's kind of one of those other thematic things of like you're always going to have to be thinking about this thing that has happened, even though it ostensibly isn't going to blow up. You have a pretty good confidence by this point. It's like those things. It's like you think like I don't know. I have like PTSD over like fucking car tires because I've ran over so many nails in my life. So I'm like, even when like I have no reason to think that my tires will be flat, I'm like constantly looking at my tires all the time. Like, and it's like that's a very different thing. But it's just one of those things where like once something has happened to you, you can have like it affect you more deeply than it should. Although I think it's pretty reasonable to think if a bomb's sitting in the middle of the courtyard to be scared.
One of the things I did like about this movie, watching it, the second time around, it does have a good replay value to it. Like, because you're aware of the gold, and she even throws the gold out there when the tutors first come in, and she was like, we don't have anywhere to put it, and we have nowhere to spend it, and all of this stuff. But the second time watching it, you realize, oh, dude, Jacinto is literally like having sex with her just to try to get the key to try to get the gold.
Mm-hmm.
So that was like a aha thing for me that I didn't notice the first time. I don't know if you guys clocked it the first time or not. But.
No, I didn't, and I thought that same thing watching it the other night again. And I was like, oh yeah, this is very much like a very rewarding rewatch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, almost immediately.
Once you learn his like motives, you see the little things that he's doing. Just like when he catches the boys down in the water the first night, and he cuts Carlito's face, and he flips out about them being down there. He's doing the same thing, trying to get into the safe that night, and that's the only reason why he knew where they were and caught him. And it's like, holy shit, like it is a fun, like you said, rewarding rewatch.
I did have a question of so I initially thought that there were multiple ghosts, because when he's in bed, you see he's got that curtain up for, privacy in this gigantic room, but you see the shadow, and it's like, and it's very witch-like. So I kept thinking like, okay, there's more than one. There's like a witchy ghost. And
I could see that,
kid.
Yeah.
But I guess it was just him. And, as he goes to the house and he kind of gets scared and runs, and you just kind of see the shadow of stuff, and you saw the eye and the keyhole of the door. And I'm like, it took me a minute to realize like it was just Santi doing that.
Yeah.
But I was a little curious as to why.
I was also curious as to why they didn't have the doctor and Carmen help the boys kill Jacinto, because like they both died there too, right? And even the doctor basically says like, I'm going to stay here and protect this place for forever. And so like I kind of thought that they were going to help them lure him to Santi, or help his demise, and they don't show up to help either. So like Santi was the only ghost until you see the doctor at the end just holding the gun watching the boys leave.
Well, you see like his hand kind of come in and open the door, and he drops the handkerchief when he lets all the boys out.
Oh.
You like barely see a glimpse of, you can tell it's him.
Okay.
My headcanon is that all the ghosts talked, and Santi was like, look, this guy's mine.
I've been working this
I've been waiting for this my whole ghost life, so we just gotta get him down in the cistern.
And I like that headcanon, and I think it's I just talking about the water and Santi and some of that, like just
his death is so brutal.
Dying, yeah, that way is just dying in any fashion is
because I
awful,
don't think he was dead when
no
he was
I don't think so.
I think going into shock.
He's like moving. His eyes are moving when
he's kind of almost
when
having
Jaime's like looking at him, and then
and then Vicento wraps him up in rope, and I was like, oh my god, like this kid's gonna what a terrible way to go.
Mm-hmm.
But I did love that as soon as when he was tying all the gold bars at the end.
The gold was like going to be his. Yeah,
I was like, oh yeah, he's that's going to weigh him down.
Yeah, that was a nice touch too. I did love that as well.
I also thought it was hilarious that his two thief friends just also
fucked
him.
Off.
Just like they're like, we're too impatient. Fuck you, and just ran off.
This juice is no longer worth the squeeze.
One of them was named Pig.
I do love that, like you mentioned earlier, Slate, the movie, there is a lot that kind of happens in the last 20-30 minutes, and like it kind of turns into almost like a
Spanish
Goonies
Western
type thing or something. Yeah, like they're like getting kind of, like they're kind of like
making their last stand.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. It's fun. Like it is kind of like it's a weird coming of age movie, really, from baked into a gothic horror war drama.
And I mean, he shows dead children after the Jeep blows
I loved
up.
that.
Yeah, I mean, it's
So you talk about there not being like beautiful shots. I mean, there aren't beautiful in the sense of, because it is like a gritty movie, but like there's some really
there's artistic
epic shots. Like
yes, there's epic artistic shots. But when I said beautiful, I meant more of like, okay, when you watch Frankenstein, just color pops. Everything looks gorgeous and like otherworldly. And you're just like blown away. Like, how could somebody create this image, right? And then same thing, like when you watch Hellboy and Hellboy Golden Army, there's just so many like iconic shots in that. And you're like, oh my God. Even Blade, like, it's different in a beautiful sense, but like when they're coming in Blade 2, when they're like coming up out of the water, it is just so fucking cool, man. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know. Like, and so like every movie that I've ever seen, Pacific Rim, like there's always just these things that kind of make your jaw drop of just like how magnificent and cool they look, or beautiful they look, or like The Shape of Water. Like, it's just such a like aesthetically pleasing, and like and this movie is so gritty and dirty and just like poor in that sense. Like it makes you like you feel like you're right there with them, which is what the director is supposed to do. But it's just so different from all of his other movies to me that it was weird.
And I do think it is, and he's the one that's sort of called Pan's Labyrinth, like the sister, because so it's like a girl's at the center of the story. So he's like, he calls it the sister to this as the brother, and he invites that comparison. I mean, like he I think it's it's similar in that way too. Like, I'm trying to think I think you would maybe feel the same way about that one in terms of like some of the cinematography and some of the stuff that's happening there, because although there are some because there's also like real monsters in that movie, like several like different kind of creatures and stuff that kind of make it pop in a different way than this movie.
Like, I guess I could just see in another world where if Guillermo del Toro remade this movie, there would be like a shot of the pastor and Conchita like driving into town as the sun's going down, and just the colors and how beautiful the car like silhouette would look with the sunlight and moonlight coming in, and like
this sounds like you want a sunset. That's all.
No, I'm just saying, like I'm not.
And you meant doctor, not pastor, right?
Yes, that's what I meant, doctor. Did I say pastor?
Yeah.
Well, whatever. You get what I'm saying. I'm just saying, like I could see another world where, like, if you reshot it, there would be something like that where you just see one clip that you're like, man, that's masterful.
I get what you're saying. Well, any other thoughts about the movie? I think it's man, I wish you all had seen Pan's Labyrinth, because that makes like I don't want to really talk too much about that movie, but I do think it is a very he has called this his favorite movie that he's made fairly recently. I don't remember when that was. I didn't put that in the notes, but I remember reading that. And I think like Pan's Labyrinth would probably be. It's almost impossible. Like he really does talk about these two movies together a lot, and so I think it's more likely someone listening has probably seen Pan's Labyrinth over this one. I would think so. Because it was kind of the first one that really put him on the map for American audiences. So I would encourage you, if you are somebody who has seen Pan's Labyrinth and loved it, definitely seek this one out and check it out.
Yeah, and we kind of mentioned it earlier, but the boys taking down Jacinto at the end is visceral and brutal, and I love that
and gratifying
and
beautiful.
I love that
it is so good
because they've used broken glass and kind of sharpened little spears, and you're just like, oh, these literal children are preparing for war.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, this is comical.
Yeah, right in the right in the armpit.
So good. Oh, it's so good. I love that.
And then they're just like stabbing him and like
they don't leave him any room to live.
This was like,
which is what you have to do to fascists, by the way. You have
this
to
was
kill
like a
him.
Spanish version of Stephen King's The Losers Club, like taking a stand against Henry Bowers. It was awesome.
I'm glad you said that. Like that's what I was kind of reaching for a minute ago. Like it does feel like almost like a Stephen King, novel come to life a little bit at the end. Like
yeah. This is the La Losers Club.
So we think that Jacinto's ghost is also there, and that they all have to like deal with each other now.
No, Uncle Cyrus put him in the house. He's in the house with the 13 ghosts and being tormented and stuck in rooms, the life he deserves.
Yeah, I like to think that the ghosts, because they talk about like the limbo water and stuff, I kind of think that's what Santi's in limbo, because he's, has unfinished business. I like to think the afterlife maybe just determines whether your unfinished business is valuable. And so, now I'm not sure what the unfinished business would be for the doctor. I guess it's unless it's like to find Carmen, and maybe that's the Enrique.
Well, I wondered if like he's standing at the door, the ghost Cesaris,
Dr. Cesaris, yeah.
Cesaris, yeah.
When they're walking out, and I almost wondered if he's kind of helped these children survive this. Now they're leaving, and
maybe
they're kind
he gets
of
to move on.
That may be like now, I've completed what I could do.
It's possibly, but I think he stays there. He tells Carmen, obviously he's talking about her.
If Carmen Ghost is there, he's reading her poetry.
Yeah. Maybe he can finally get hard again. Like
he did. He drank the drink.
Oh my god! So we haven't mentioned specifically what that
60-year-old
was.
men like to.
But if for people who maybe listen to this who haven't seen the movie for whatever reason, but the doctor has all these jars of what kind of? Did he say what kind of liquor it was?
Rum. It's like a rum.
And it's got like fetus, like dead babies in it, including one that had the quote "devil's backbone," where they've got the exposed spine. And he was like, "Oh, people pay so much money for this because they believe drinking this will, give them vitality and let them have erections and stuff." And then he pours it and kind of almost dares Carlos to drink it, and Carlos is like, "Oh God, no." But then as soon as he leaves, the doctor drinks it, and I was just like, what? Oh, God.
But I think that's a metaphor to show, like, while being a man of science, I think he drinks it, and it's like, you know what? Maybe there is an afterlife.
He's like, can't hurt.
Yeah.
I guess. Drinking dead fetus alcohol or whatever.
Yeah.
It'd be fine.
Fermented fetus.
It brings a whole new definition to a Bloody Mary. Sorry, Allison.
Oh, God.
I am choking on something in my throat tonight. But no, he does tell Carmen, and he is. I'm struggling, guys. Sorry. He is essentially talking about her, but when he says, I found where I want to be for the last 20 years, and I've stayed here, and so like he feels like that. This is where he needs to be, where he's meant to be. And then, of course, he tells the boys, like, I am going to stay here and protect this place forever. So, like, I think his spirit is just decided to be there. And
What if he's been a ghost the whole time? That would make you I think that would be an interesting way to watch the movie. I think that would be an interesting way to watch the movie. I don't know that it really affects the movie too much, but like I think if you rewatch it, like just put that in your mind, like that's what I believe. It would be an interesting way to watch the movie.
It's actually her dead husband's ghost. That's a theory.
Yeah.
All right. No, I like this movie.
I do too.
Would recommend.
Cool. Obviously, I would. I wouldn't have drafted it otherwise. Although I did draft .com for murder. So what am I saying?
I mean, I drafted Shallow Hell intentionally so I could shit all over it. So.
You guys. Oh.
Bonus feature time, and we'll, I typically, listeners are well aware, mine turn into histories lessons a lot of times, so I'll try to keep it fast though for folks. I know that can get dry a little bit. I try to make it fun though. We're going to do a history of Mexican cinema this week, kind of a crash course, and I choose Mexico because of Guillermo del Toro's origins. This is a Spanish-Mexico co-production, and I did go back and forth on whether to do Spanish history instead, but it just got too unwieldy trying to do all like Spanish language. So I just kind of want to keep it confined to Mexico. We're going to stay in North America. We're a North American based podcast, so we'll stick to North America. So Mexico, like most places around the world, gets its start in cinema at the turn of the 19th century, going into the 20th century. At that time, they were ruled by a dictator, Porfirio Diaz, a quote-unquote president, who ruled for close to 40 years, and he was very like film forward. He kind of recognized the power of what like film could bring in terms of someone in his position and creating propaganda and stuff very early. So a lot of early Mexican cinema is that it originates from people who filmed him, news media and whatnot. The first fiction movie created in Mexico was based on, I thought this was fun, and I've linked to a lot of these things I'm going to mention in the show notes, because a lot of this stuff is on YouTube, surprisingly, like public domain. So it's a recreation of a duel that happened the day before, and somebody, I guess a French director, Gabriel Very, went out there, he was a pharmacist and a French director, a pharmacist turned director, and just went out and recreated this duel that happened apparently between two people. And it's cool. It's pretty short, like it's like a minute and a half. But like the thing that's happening in the movie that's interesting is like you can see the foreground and the background, like things happening in it in a way that's like kind of, it's not like revolutionary necessarily, but it's kind of like a unique thing happening for that time. Like you can try to follow the action in both. It's a single camera thing, but it's kind of fun. Salvador Toscano, he's kind of regarded as the first Mexican director for a lot of people. He made the country's first silent drama feature, Don Juan Tonario, based on the Don Juan stories. And he made movies for a long time. After that, he did a lot of stuff covering the Mexican Revolution and did some propaganda films for Diaz. And a lot of that ends up in a documentary called Memoirs of a Mexican that his daughter Carmen later made, and that's how a lot of that stuff has survived. There's another guy who sort of has a claim as Mexico's first director, Ignacio Aguirre, or Aguirre, I guess is probably how you would say it. He only directed that one movie, Reina de Hombres en el Zocalo. It came out 1 year before Toscano's first movie, but he didn't end up continuing to work as a filmmaker after that. So Toscano did into late in his life, so that's kind of why he gets the credit a lot of time. The first Mexican sound film, Santa, released in 1932, directed by Antonio Marino. He is best known probably to us up here in the United States of America as Dr. Carl Maya in Creature from the Black Lagoon. He's a very prominent character in that movie. Worked as an actor and a lot of stuff. That movie is ranked number 67 among the 100 best movies in Mexican cinema by a magazine, a defunct Mexican celebrity and entertainment magazine called Somos. It was popular in the 90s. And I've got a link to the full list, but I wanted to shout out the top 5. Vámonos con Pancho Villa, Los Olvidados, El Compadre Mendoza, Aventurera, and Una Familia de Tontas. I've not seen any of these movies. I've not seen 4 of the 5 of these. They're all linked in the show notes, and so people can go check them out on YouTube at some point if they'd like. Los Olvidados I will recommend, though. I've actually seen that. It is very good. It was recommended to me to my pal Gerald from McDonald's that I've referenced on the podcast before. He's a film lover, and
your McFriend,
my
as you
McFriend.
have in the notes.
Gerald is awesome, and so Los Olvidados, I encourage people to check that one out. The newest movies on that list were from 1992, and there were 2. Como Agua para Chocolate by a man named Alfonso Arau. I'm not familiar with him, but he's still alive. He's 94 years old, still doing his thing. So
is that Like Water for Chocolate?
Yes, yep, Like Water for Chocolate is what the name of it is. Have you seen it?
No, there's a English language movie. Maybe is it like a story that's been told multiple times?
You're sharing knowledge that I don't know.
Continue.
He is the voice of Papa Julio in Coco, though, the Pixar movie. So he's had some, he's recognized. He's a very well-known guy in the movie making world internationally. And Kronos was also named on that from a 1992 on that list. And that list was made, I think it was compiled in like 94 or something. So, you're obviously anything released since then isn't going to make it. And many of those movies on that list are from 1936 to 1956, which is often considered the golden age of Mexican cinema. And that's like largely, it was a good time for Mexico because, America really deeply involved with the war and things going on. All your production kind of starts moving towards other things. And so it kind of opens up this window for places like Mexico to create more, not necessarily create more movies, but leverage what they do make and kind of get it distributed elsewhere to fill theaters and whatnot across the world. So, and it kind of ends with the death of Pedro Infante Cruz. He was an actor, dude. I didn't count like the movies he was in, but in this period of time, like this golden age of Mexico cinema, he was working his fucking ass off. Like he was in. It seemed like there were years where he had like 20 movies come out in a single year. It was like bonkers stuff. Like Pedro Pascal's like sweating like over here like, am I working enough? Like, because it's like watching this guy. I mean, it was crazy. He died in a plane crash in April of 1957. He was only 39. So, just one of those, awful things that happen sometimes. The Ariel Award, which I think we've referenced before on the show, it's kind of like the Oscar for, the Mexican Oscar. It originated in 1946, goes away for a little bit in the 50s, and then comes back in 1972 and has been around since then. There is related to the Oscars, the main reason I wanted to bring that up, there is a director, Emilio Fernandez, a Mexican director, who is, the rumor is, like, he's long rumored to have been the model for the Oscar statue. Which I didn't know till I was doing research for this. I thought that was kind of fun to learn. There's been a few Mexican movies nominated for Best Foreign Language Film. The first was Macario, 1960 supernatural drama. Honestly, might be the better way to describe this movie that we're talking about today, is supernatural drama, directed by Roberto Gavidan. It was ranked 59th on that Somos list. The Important Man, which wasn't ranked on that list, was nominated the following year. And Tlayucan, ranked 48th, came out in 1962. It was, so those three, they kind of had a good streak there. And then they went a while. Letters from Maracilla came out in 1975. And then Amores Perros. Have you all ever seen that movie?
No, I've heard of it.
I have not seen it.
Translation, Loves a Bitch.
Yeah, Loves a Bitch. And it's directed by Alejandro Inarritu, who's, he's got his Digger coming out later this year. He did Birdman, several movies that people are familiar with. That came out in 2000. It was really, because I remember it coming up a lot when I was doing research for the show, and like it's kind of really close to our year, but not in our year. And it's regarded as like I've not seen it either, but it's like one of these things that comes up a lot in like when you're talking about the best movies ever, like people will throw that out there sometimes. So it's something I want to get around to checking out at some point. Since then, we've also had The Crime of Father Amaro, which we've talked about before, and Pan's Labyrinth, talked about previously, obviously, and Beautiful, it's spelled Biutiful, in 2010. And then we have Roma, which won Best Foreign Language Film, directed by Alfonso Cuarón, who also directed 2001's Y Tu Mama Tambien, and, in my opinion, the best Harry Potter movie, Prisoner of Azkaban. And that was in contention for Best Picture, lost to Green Book. It was, along with The Favorite, they both had 10 nominations. And I'm kind of the belief, and I think a lot of people believe, if Roma hadn't been, I mentioned this last week on the show, if Roma hadn't been a Netflix movie, it probably might have won the Best Picture award that year, just given kind of a lot of the conversation leading up to that award ceremony. It was ranked in that New York Times list that sort of semi-inspired this show at number 46, so it's kind of like considered one of the best movies of the century by a lot of people. Just wanted to shout out one other movie, Bardo, False Chronicle of a Handful of Truths, which is also directed by Inarritu. It came out, it was in the 2022 Oscar ceremony, so it came out in 2021, and it was like a short list. It was Mexico's submission for the year, and it didn't get nominated for Best Foreign Language Film, but it did get nominated for Best Cinematography, which is like really rare to see a foreign language movie get nominated for a category outside of foreign language and not be nominated for foreign language also. Like, you'll see it sometimes, like The Crossover, like I think The Secret Agent had several nominations, but obviously also had foreign language, but it's rare that you see one get nominated outside of foreign language and not be nominated for foreign language. I just thought that was kind of fun to see. So, that's the very, very short, fast history of Mexican cinema. I'm sure there's glossed over a ton of things. People out there in the comments can eat me alive, but just wanted to kind of rush through that for folks, and also just kind of talk about some of our favorite directors, actors, movies from Mexico, Spanish-speaking movies if we want to kind of broaden it out to that. I think that's fine as well, because there is kind of a lot of overlap there. You have a lot of Spanish directors that come over and work in Mexico and vice versa. Obviously, this is a co-production. I think Pan's Labyrinth also later is a co-production. So it's we don't have to completely confine it to Mexico if we don't want to, or not, or if you don't have a lot of history with it too. I think that's fine too, because I think it's an interesting thing to, part of this show and part of just in general trying to broaden my horizons more has been like I do want to kind of watch more Spanish movies, more Japanese movies, more German movies, more kind of get beyond the English of it, but it's hard to keep up with what's happening here enough to, it's, at some point it just gets overwhelming sometimes.
Well, I had read that Del Toro and Alfonso Cuarón and Alejandro Iñárritu were collectively known as the three amigos of Mexican cinema.
That doesn't seem
and I
racist.
agree. I think Prisoner of Azkaban is the best Harry Potter movie.
Yeah.
And
yes.
I have liked a lot of Cuarón's movies. I thought Gravity, Children of Men. Ugh.
Oh yeah, I don't know how I didn't
Children
even
of
mention
Men,
that in
Claude
the
Owen.
notes. Like that's like Children of Men is like, I don't know. I guess I don't know if it's considered a Mexican movie, but he's obviously a Mexican director. Yeah, Children of Men is one of the another one of those best all timers.
For me, the first Spanish movie that stands out, and it's been so long since I've seen it, I hardly remember it, but I really enjoyed The Orphanage when I was younger. It's the horror movie, I guess.
Shocker.
I guess, yeah. It's a ghost / horror orphanage movie. I don't remember a whole lot about it now, but I remember enjoying it. It was like one of the first Spanish movies that I remember watching that kind of stuck with me for a while. I probably need to revisit that, to be honest with you. And then as far as man, I don't really know I was so not prepared for this, for thinking of a director or actress or actor.
I mean,
Salma
Hayek.
So Salma Hayek's cool. Honestly, I would go with Ana de Armas. I love her. I think she's great in everything that she's in. The first thing that I saw her in was Knock Knock with Keanu Reeves. If you haven't seen that, it is a delightful thriller. It's amazing, and it was the first time I'd ever seen her. She wasn't well known. It was like one of her first roles. It's an Eli Roth movie, and it's really good, and she's amazing in it. And kind of fell in love with her then, and I've been on the Anna de Armas train ever since.
Yeah, she's Cuban, by the way. Just heads up. But
okay.
I know that's the thing when
it is hard. Like I almost should have said like
if you're thinking Mexico specifically as opposed to just,
I didn't think she was Mexico. I just was thinking Spanish. But Cuban is not a language, right? They don't speak Cuban; they speak Spanish, right?
I think. See, I don't know. I think let's all get canceled today, shall we?
Yeah.
Well. I can tell you about a bunch of Spanish-speaking baseball players, and Mexico's got a pretty good World Baseball Classic team.
You were just talking about Ramirez earlier.
Mid-'90s Atlanta Braves. Remember,
he's Dominican.
My team, Javi Lopez.
Was he Mexican?
Actually, I don't remember.
Javi's not Mexican. He's from Venezuela. Hold on here.
Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rican. Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. No, Team Mexico, Jaron Duran, awesome. Randy Arozarena, who's actually Cuban but defected to play for Mexico and has been accepted as a Mexican citizen, plays for Mexico. That's really cool. Rowdy Tellez is a big chunky boy that hits homers. They were a really fun team. They actually put it on the USA team in the pool play game and beat the shit out of us. And the USA almost didn't make the quarterfinal, made the playoffs of the World Baseball Classic because of Mexico. They got in by the skin of their teeth, and it was pretty cool.
There's not a lot of Mexican NBA players. I guess one country that hasn't produced a lot of like NBA level players is Mexico. But Jaime Jaquez Jr. from speaking of Jaime's, the NBA, the Miami Heat currently have a real one. He's one of their best players.
Back to acting. I did have to look this up to make sure. But Danny Trejo is Mexican.
Danny Trejo, Machete. I love Danny Trejo. Every time I think of Danny Trejo now, I think of "I Was Good to You, Mikey" in Rob Zombie's Halloween when it's a brutal death when Michael Myers is killing him. But love Danny Trejo. He's fantastic. I do need to correct myself. I actually think the U.S. beat Mexico, but we lost to Italy in the pool play. Italy kicked our ass, but we needed Mexico to beat Italy and score an X amount of runs or something. I don't remember exactly how it worked out, but it was
let's get this. Let's see. By the time this comes out, a 4-month-old baseball game, right? Like,
this was back in March, so
yeah. It'll be about by the time this episode comes out. It'll be about 4 or 5 months from March. Yeah. So.
Okay, I am looking. Diego Luna. I forgot about him. I've liked him when he's shown up and stuff.
Okay.
And Gael Garcia Bernal, he's been in tons of stuff, including Y Tu Mama Tambien.
Do we want to talk about that movie? I know we've talked about it. I know you talked about wanting to watch it, Allison. I mean, I'm down. If I don't know if all of us want to do it or if you just want to do it, we can. Because I have it, and I think it would be. It's in the Criterion Collection. It's actually currently out of print. There's a lot of speculation that it's going to get like a 4K release or something and get put back into production, but it's supposed to be an exceptional movie. You know,
it's made by the guy that we love, right?
Yeah, Poirot.
So, I'm down. We could figure out a way in time to make it work.
Cool. We'll discuss that off mic. I do think it's a kind of. It's often. We talked about this when we talked about No Man's Land previously. It was not nominated at all. It was not in any of the Oscars races, and it's maybe regarded by a lot of people as the best foreign language movie from that year. So I think it'd be fun to check it out. We haven't brought up Robert Rodriguez.
Right.
He's another Spy Kids.
He made Spy Kids. We don't have to watch that movie. It's okay.
But it's in the Library of Congress.
Which Danny Trejo is also in.
Yeah. That's what got me thinking about Rodriguez was when you brought up Trejo.
Antonio Banderas?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, he's
Puss in Boots.
Yeah, Puss in Boots.
So, I did my thing for Spanish Heritage Night on the podcast. I'm wearing the Perros Calientes hat. which is Spanish for hot dogs. You're welcome. And I'm wearing a ghost shirt, Insidious. So I got the themes rolling tonight. Okay.
I brought. I think I talked about this when we were talking about foreign movies before, but Suspiria. Like, there's a lot of really good Spanish horror. I'm not as deep into the Mexican horror. I'm not as familiar with.
I thought Suspiria was Italian.
Shit, you're right. You're right. I'm stupid.
I have seen Suspiria.
What am I thinking of in Spanish? What am I thinking of? Suspiria is in my head for some reason. I don't know what I was. There's something else I'm thinking of that's like Suspiria. I'll put in the show notes or something. You're right. It is because that's Argento. It's Italian. It's like, are the record movies are those from Mexico? They're called. It's like REC.
REC, and they remade it into Quarantine. Here in America.
Oh, that was Quarantine was based off of.
Oh, see, I didn't know
Wreck.
that.
I did not know that.
Mm-hmm.
I just knew that Dexter's sister is in that movie.
Spanish found footage film.
Okay, so it's Spain. It's from Spain.
Okay.
Yeah, based in Barcelona. I have seen Quarantine, but
the first Wreck is supposed to be like one of the real, it's supposed to be another really good. That's not the movie I was thinking of a minute ago, but that was supposed to be a really exceptional found footage movie.
Now, this isn't a Mexico movie or a Mexican movie, but because it's a Tony Scott film. But A Man on Fire with Denzel, and it takes place in Mexico, is awesome. Fantastic. Oh man, Benicio del Toro. Did we mention him?
We didn't. I don't know. No, I'm not learning.
He's Puerto Rican.
Is he? Oh well, I just thought
we
Mexican
sound like
because
the dumbest white idiots right now,
I think that's a good thing. I'm glad that we're sort of having this just talking.
I was thinking of
stream of conscious because I do think that's
Sicario movies. So
a tough thing people don't want to admit is we, as Americans, I think do often struggle with every Hispanic person just kind of. There are distinctions, right? And we don't.
Oh, absolutely.
We don't acknowledge it as well as we should. Even subconsciously, it's we're not trying to be racist or anything over here. It's just how you process stuff.
But though I do that with English actors too. I'm just they're British and they're not from Great Britain. You know what I mean? It's a common thing. But yeah, Spanish is hard. There's so many countries that speak Spanish that it is hard for me to figure out all right, well, they're from here and they're from there. There's definitely differences between somebody who's Venezuelan and Cuban, but I don't. If it's a Spanish speaking actor,
you're just hearing the Spanish. You're not you don't
hearing
know
the
language enough to.
I'm here for the performance. I can't tell you where 95% of American actors what state they're from. You know what I mean? I couldn't give a shit less of. I have no idea. I know Tom Hardy's an English actor. I don't know where he is. He's British, I think. I don't know.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, he's British, I think. He probably grew up in Yorkshire or.
I don't know, but I love Tom Hardy. That's my point. Is I don't, I don't know what state fucking Robert Downey Jr. came from. I don't know. I don't care. I love his performances.
I think you're feigning ignorance.
Tom Hardy was born in London.
See, I was right. Right. I love Sir Thomas.
Oh God.
Has he been in any movies?
Can we get Tom Hardy on this podcast?
Please, really, yes. Let's get into talk about Black Hawk Down.
I think he owes us some royalties at this point.
He's the MVP of 2001, guys.
He had his one movie.
Yeah, it's him. It's Ted Levine. And who was the third
Bonnie
one?
Aarons.
The Nun.
Bonnie Aarons. Yeah, the Nun.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are our top three.
And Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah, who might have been born in 2001. Oh, that's fantastic.
All right. Well, listeners, I hope that wasn't a dud of an episode for you. Show notes are in the description, and I'm skipping right over Doesn't Matter again. Y'all gotta keep me in line.
Bro. This is you. This is you, Josh. This ain't us. This is you.
I didn't realize you were reading the outro.
Yeah.
Okay, rewind. So,
I hope you leave this in.
It'll probably be at the top of the episode. So we're back to where we always go right after the bonus feature segment ends, and we never skip over it. And
unless Josh is hosting the episode.
Yeah, unless Josh is hosting. Slate and I remember.
Does this movie matter? I actually think this is going to be an interesting one to suss out.
Okay.
It's a little tempting to say no, just because this, I don't think, is super well known when you think of Del Toro. I think most people think Pan's Labyrinth, because that's that's kind of like the big breakthrough. But I haven't watched Pan's Labyrinth, but given how I kind of know the story of Pan's Labyrinth. I know a lot about the movie, and I can see the parallels and stuff from what little I know. And I think Pan's Labyrinth absolutely matters, even though I haven't even seen it.
I like
but just given its cultural cash and what it's led to, and if this is the sister movie to it, then I kind of feel like it needs to matter
tag
too.
Along.
Yeah, it gets to tag along.
I was gonna say that I think it matters too. I think it matters in the sense that, one, like, it is a movie that, like you said, Josh, Guillermo del Toro is extremely proud of. It may be his favorite movie that he's ever made. And two, I think that while it's not thrown out there as often as Pan's Labyrinth, I feel like people essentially mention Pan's Labyrinth and then almost in the next breath mention this movie too. Like, I do hear Devil's Backbone mentioned a lot when talking about Guillermo del Toro, and I think it matters not only for that fact, but it's one of his, full Spanish movies. It is a movie of his culture and heritage, and he's, since then transitioned into making, English speaking, more American modernized films. And I think it absolutely matters to show, like, this is where he came from and one of the most important movies to him. And I think it's just an all in all great movie. So I think it does matter.
It's been a little more.
I would tag on to that also, that this is his first movie after the kind of disastrous experience of Mimic.
Yeah.
And it's a great comeback, and you can tell that, again, I fell asleep watching Mimic. It is, yeah, I can understand why he was not happy with that whole production, because they really tamed his whole thing down for that movie. But to be able to come back to this, and I feel like, even though it doesn't look, as Slate said, have that really like saturated look of a lot of his movies, it definitely has a distinctive look, and it definitely feels like his movie.
Yeah, I think he would, he's probably said this and I'm just absorbed it somehow, but I think he probably would say, like, the experience with Mimic is like why you end up getting this and then Pan's Labyrinth, and then the way most of his filmography from here plays out is because it was such a horrendous experience on that movie that it's like it makes you not want to deal with Hollywood at all. And then he does end up getting back into Hollywood, but like he asserts more creative control from there. And
right. And based off of kind of what he's said about Mimic and how he feels about Mimic, it really ties in a lot into what we're going to be talking about next week, and why the movie I picked is a movie that I picked, because I think it is important for an artist and somebody who's creating movies, and especially in this time period, but even in today's time, I think it's extremely important for them to take a step back from doing the studio movies that are being, wanted for them to be successful, and do something that they themselves want to do for the art and for the love of it. And I think that this movie is one of those films for him. And so that's another reason why I think it's important, because I think it's important for an artist and somebody to create something to make, even if we don't always agree with it. And we'll get more into it next week. Like, there's definitely been some choices of actors and directors making movies that were like, we really wish you hadn't made it. It's still important that they made what they wanted to make, and whether we liked it or not, for them to be able to get through that creative process the way they wanted to do it is important, and will work out in some form or fashion along the way. That I think that's why this movie matters as well, because it's a good movie and he made it the way he wanted to make it.
Yeah, I do think this and Pan's Labyrinth both are really, I quibble sometimes with Passion Project as a, but they are like, I mean, like it's clearly him. He's at the forefront of making because obviously movies are like big machines, and like there's a lot of people that go into making a movie, but they are very much Del Toro through and through, and I was conflicted on where I was going to land with this, honestly, but I was leaning It Matters because a lot of the same things you guys have said, but I was also like, I can see the case for like, really Pan's Labyrinth is kind of the one where you would start, if you were talking about like, this is like the, Mount Rushmore, but like, I think like, I don't know, I think this is, I like Pan's Labyrinth more, I will say. I do think Pan's Labyrinth is a better movie of the two, but it's close. It's not like a runaway, it's not lapping it or anything, and I think some of it with Pan's Labyrinth that is more, a lot of the difference between, I think, where people might fall, whether they prefer this or that, is the monsters, like the creature design and stuff. Like it's just got more of that, like what you come to know with Del Toro is present in Pan's Labyrinth than here. Even like thematically, he's here 100%. It's like the designs, like here you can tell he's still figuring it out a little bit, like how to put, like with the ghost, you all talk about the ghost, like kind of the design there, like he's still inching towards like perfecting what he really wants to do. But it's fun seeing something like this, an artist who is clearly very much has something cool to say in a different, unique way of saying it, and but also getting to see like that window into like they're figuring it out, So I'll say It Matters too. I don't get to say that about many of my movies, so or at least not when the other people on this screen are agreeing with me. So I'm going to take the win.
Mary Lee would be so proud of you.
Yeah.
So listeners, I hope that wasn't a dud for you. There was definitely
much like the bomb in the middle of the courtyard.
Show notes are in the description, along with links to our online hangouts, all the good stuff. Go leave us reviews and listen to us. Tell your friends about us. I know we're a small podcast, but we can be bigger. You can make us bigger.
Yeah, do it.
And just anything else, I go watch this movie. Obviously, I think we're all in agreement there.
Give us that impotence boost.
I was going to go there. And
you said to make us bigger, Josh.
And when I said that, I immediately thought like I should just
take a shot of dead fetus juice and leave a review
if you can.
Leave an unhinged review.
So we spent this week in the past with some ghosts. But we're not done with the ghosts. It turns out we've still got some more ghosts to talk about. We ain't done, y'all. There's a lot of ghosts in May. We really are a lot of fucking ghost movies in May.
2001 was a supernatural year, apparently.
But this time they're in the future. Slate, tell us where we're going.
Oh, guys, we are not only dealing with the supernatural and ghosts. We are dealing with them not only in the future, in the year like 2037 or 2070, 2073, I think.
You're going to have to remember, bro. It ain't my movie. You're the one.
We are going all the way to the planet Mars. And we are diving into John Carpenter's Ghost of Mars, which, like I spoke about earlier, is a passion project of his, at least from everything that I know about John and what I've read about him and the type of movies that he's always enjoyed to make, and how this one's a little bit different than a lot of the other movies that he made. So I was super excited to get you guys in on this movie. Of course, Josh and Allison, you all know when we were doing the draft that I was kind of hemming and hawing back and forth between this and 13 Ghosts. And while I love 13 Ghosts and I would love to talk about it again on this podcast, I picked Ghosts of Mars because I felt like this was an important movie that needed to be talked about. If it didn't get drafted, it wouldn't have been talked about. And I think that it's something that needs to be discussed as far as like having the ability to create your own movies the way you want to make them. And John is a staple for that. So, I can't wait to see what you guys think about the movie. And I'm not going to tell you exactly what we got going on, but we do have a very, very very special guest lined up for this episode that has confirmed, but I don't want to jinx it. So, but let's just say, like, if this person comes on the podcast, it will be an absolute, like, honor for me. So I'm super excited to do that. And hope you guys, I hope you guys, if you haven't seen Ghost of Mars, you watch it, because it's a fun movie. It's a really fun movie that doesn't take itself too seriously. You get to see Jason Statham with hair, which is cool.
That's the weirdest thing in the movie.
Yeah.
Yes. It's only his third movie made. Pam Grier's in it, and so is Ice Cube as well. It's a fun movie. So definitely check it out, guys. And do not miss next week's episode. You're going to love our guests. I think that they're going to be awesome.
Yeah, I'm excited that Slate's worked his connections and has worked on something pretty cool. I think if it fingers crossed it's going to come through. It'll
just
be a fun
remember,
one.
people, shoot your shot.
Yeah,
do not be afraid to shoot your shot. That's all I'm going to say.
And what is it? The aim for the moon and you land among the stars, or something? That's
I think it was Jordan or Gretzky that said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
You don't take.
Yeah. And Kobe just said, "Fuck it, I'm a bucket." So.
And go into that movie with an open mind if you're watching ahead with us, because it is a little different than what you might expect from John Carpenter. Maybe I guess there's some things, some of his earlier stuff that it's kind of
it's got a little bit of Big Trouble, Little China vibes, a little bit.
Some of the Escape from New York, L.A. kind of stuff going on there. But
we're not riding around in a truck called the Pork Chop Express or anything, but it's a fun movie, man. So yeah, just check it out. Don't take it too seriously, because it clearly does not take itself too seriously. And it's an enjoyable movie. Just like enjoy being in the world that they built in the future and watching shit blow up with some awesome like Mad Max guitar riffs. It's fantastic.
All right. Well, until we head to Mars with you guys, try to stay out of the basement.
Well, I'm going to leave you guys with a quote from our favorite band, Eve 6 from 2001.
Yeah, our favorite, obviously.
Yeah, everybody's favorite. So, here's to the nights we felt alive. Here's to the tears you knew you'd cry. Here's to goodbye, tomorrow's gonna come too soon. I figure since Josh could karaoke on an episode, I could too.
You karaoke on every episode. What are you talking about?
I don't always sing it. Today I was feeling the singing it. Okay? I'm going to hate listening back to that.
Smell you later, Fetus Waters.
Jubilee says bye.
Bye, Jubilee.